but one of his companions once said, "Why do you have the celery in your lapel? Why are you carrying that?" He goes, "Oh, it's a safety defense. I'm allergic to certain things, and if the celery turns red, you know, it's present, and that would be not good." She goes, "Oh, well, what do you do in that case?" "I eat the celery. If anything, I'm sure it's good for my teeth." But, you know, that's just how he was. Good old Rod. All right, now this next doctor, the sixth, is, well, he's colorful. I don't know if you're aware. There's about 8 different patterns on that jacket. But there was this idea that, you know, maybe we can start selling off the doctor's clothes, his costumes and everything, which never really took off. Cosplayers do it all the time. Well, yeah, cosplayers do it all the time, but they were going to try and sell it to kids. But, yes?
You also have to admit, this was mid to late 80s, so
oh yeah,
just
mid to
trying
late 80s. True, that does
grab
have an
on
effect.
to how horrible 80s fashion was.
Yeah,
So,
this was the time of beehives and glam bands and all that stuff. I suppose that does factor in. But he really wasn't the most well-known doctor. He just kind of, Colin is there. He was a fill-in. But he's the experienced doctor is the best way to say it. He's been around the block. He loves to hear himself talk. He loves to explain everything. And he doesn't care if you're listening, he'll just keep going. But that's how Colin was. And again, the doctor of Technicolor Dreamcoats, however you want to call him, that was 6. So now we have 7. Yeah?
Oh, I just want to, what's great about 6 is every other doctor, when they do their regeneration, everyone looks in the mirror and they all make some joke about how they look. Like, oh, my, you know.
All that stuff. And then when he came back.
His is a noble brow, intelligent eyes. He's a very arrogant doctor.
He is a very arrogant doctor.
A lot of people don't like him.
One of the reasons I don't like him is he's a little bit arrogant. I tried to stay away from my bias against him. His regeneration from 5 into 6, his first line was, "Change just in the nick of time." And it's like, really? Really? I liked 5. How dare you say that? Alright, moving on, so I'm not going to get upset. We have the 7th Doctor. He's actually kind of cool. At least I think. 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. Years active, 87 to 89. Then there was the hiatus. He had a little appearance in 93, and then 96 he starred in the first portion of the film with the 8th Doctor. You know, he had the regeneration. His personality is the punny one. He's like your favorite uncle. He just has to make a pun all the time. Every time. That's a pun. I can't ignore that. I must do it. Such as, well, every dogma has its day. That's just how he was. Everything had. And he had a funny little umbrella with a question mark on the end of it because he could and all this sort of stuff. And he was very much, and that's the best way I can describe it. He's your favorite uncle. He's the guy that you can stand to be around for a day, but if you had to live with him, you just couldn't. That's how it is. So you kind of see that as companions are with him, like Ace and everything. I take that Ace I didn't like at all. That's a horrible example to bring up because she had this annoying habit of calling him Professor. Why she wanted to call him Professor, she did, and it annoys me. Just, he's the doctor. He's not the professor. And then people would get confused. Well, are you the professor or the doctor? I'm the doctor. She calls me the professor. I don't get it. But yes, this was Sylvester McCoy. Very fun. Now we get into 8. Now this was during the hiatus. This was the 96th film. He was only in the 96th film. How do you like that? I'm going to play the doctor once. But it was a good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. And again, it was, like I said, it was a 90s movie. So when it starts, there's a car chase down the street, and Asian men are running down and jumping fences for whatever reason, because 90s! I watched the beginning of it, and I thought, did I start Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or is this Doctor Who? Can't figure out. But his personality is the romantic. That's a very good way to describe it, because in this film, you really you see him starting out, and you know, he's very, he doesn't remember everything, you know, how the regeneration happened is he died on an operating table and humans were trying to help him. And when you have 2 hearts, they just think your heart is beating really, really fast. That's just how it is. You have 2 hearts. They beat really, really fast. So that killed him. And then he woke up, and because of the anesthesia, it screwed with his head, so he's trying to remember who he is. And he's also the one that you get to see snoggle when on TV. Yeah, he got some on. And I love his quote here, you know, I love humans, always seeing patterns and things that aren't there. Because it's what we do. It's like, oh, that has to go with there. And he's like, no, you're not thinking fourth dimensionally. Oh wait, no, that's Doc Brown who says that. might as well use it in here, it works. Close enough. But that was the Eighth Doctor, and really, the best thing about Paul McGann is he's really expanded, the Eighth Doctor's expanded in all the books. Because, like I said, there was this hiatus. He's the only Doctor we've never seen regenerate. The books have never described it or mentioned how it happened into 9. But he does the audiobooks and all this sort of stuff, and his character changes throughout time. He ends up being, if anyone knows steampunk, he kind of has a steampunk-esque sort of thing going on with him. He starts off Victorian, and then he remakes his sonic screwdriver. I'll talk about the Sonic in a little bit and what happened to that poor thing. But yeah, that's the 8th, and he was fun. But now we get into the revitalization with the 9th Doctor. Woo! Yeah! Christopher Eccleston! Big floppy ears. That's the big thing you'll remember about him. You know, he actually turned down the part for the 8th Doctor. They asked him first, and he said, no, I don't want to do that. Then a couple of years later, he's like, not sure, why not? I don't know. I'm glad he did it, though, because Christopher Eccleston was great. He was my first Doctor. You always remember your first. You remember your first, your favorite, and the current. But the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, he was active 2005. He only did 1 season. He really wanted to just come back and revitalize it and then hand it off to someone else. But his personality is very much the stern dad. You know, he's happy, supportive, but also, you know, very fierce on you. And this is towards everyone, you know, to his enemies, he was a fierce person, but to his companions, he was just as angry as well. Mickey the idiot, need we say more? Ricky and Mickey. Mickey and Mickey, that's just too much and I'm going to get lost. But there is a key point, and I will discuss this also a little bit later, is at this point, the 9th Doctor, all before this, there have been other Time Lords. Now 9 shows up, and they're all gone. He is the last Time Lord, and that factors into who his character is and what has happened to him, because he's become a little bit more reserved. You know, he's just kind of stepping back a little bit, and he's trying to get out there, and his companions really help him through that.
Well, the Master does make a reappearance in
well,
the first season.
Yes, and I'll get to him. But at this point, he thinks he's alone. And he's the only one. There's one other, and he's very fun. And of course, the Doctors have now become catchphrases. They have little ones here and there, and for the 9th, it's fantastic. Everything was fantastic. So now we have 10.
Yeah!
My favorite.
My favorite.
Tennant.
My first.
He's amazing and so, man, I would go in that. I'm straight, but that man, ooh, he could turn me the other way. David Tennant, active 2005 to 2010. They said, why do you want to retire? And he goes, you know what? If I kept doing this, they'd want me doing it until I was in the bathtub at 80 years old and couldn't get out, but they would have me filming Doctor Who episodes. We loved him that much. Personality, manic depressive, bipolar, optimistic, and happy. He really is. He's manic depressive. He's, oh my God, I'm so very sad. Hey, how's it going? And then he's like, oh, what's this and what's that? And, oh, hey, whoa. All that sort of stuff. And that's just how he was. He was very emotionally connected. And you see that a lot in his episodes. He was the one that you really could get involved with, you know. You could really feel everything he was feeling, which was great. And then, allons-y. That's one of his catchphrases in an episode. He explains it. He goes, allons-y, it's French. Let's go. So, you know, and that's the thing. He's very much the person, let's go. We gotta go here. Gotta go there. Gotta go there. Running. Big. That's huge in the new stuff. You have to run. Do not be the person who can't run with the Doctor. You might want to get on the treadmill, cardio it up, because he comes and says, be a companion, you're going to run a lot. And I'm just going to say this, an interesting fact. David Tennant, in an episode, he gets a daughter. Her name is Jenny for a little bit, 1 episode only. And Jenny is the daughter of Peter Davison, the 5th Doctor. She grew up on the set of Doctor Who, so she knew everything about the show and everything. And they met on there. And now she's his wife and they have a kid. So the 10th married the 5th's daughter, so 10's father-in-law is 5. And it just so happens that 10's favorite Doctor growing up was 5, and he based a lot of his personality off 5. I think that must have been fate. Yes.
Back when they actually did the episode, you can sometimes find, you can find on YouTube, there's a video with her where she's talking to her, she had a son from another marriage. And she's talking to this to her 4-year-old son, asking him questions. And it's, who's your favorite doctor? And he goes, David Tennant. Okay, who's your second favorite doctor? Tom Baker.
And how far down on that list is poor Peter?
Well, okay, are there any others? No. Granddad's really gonna like hearing that.
Yeah, grandfather was very happy about that, I'm sure. All right, now we get to me. Don't I look so handsome?
That's cool.
Bow ties are very cool. All right, Matt Smith, years active 2011 till present. His personality is very whimsical and ADD. He's, oh, shiny. Oh, wait, well, I was doing something. Hold on. Right, I gotta do this first. Ignore the shiny. It's so shiny. But yeah, he's very whimsical, and it shows in his TARDIS. The TARDIS changes throughout time, updates the screensaver, if you will. And it's very much, he's the prince in a fairy tale. That's the best way to say it. I can't explain it better. But yes, I wear a fez now. Fezes are cool. Everything is cool. Bow ties are cool. Fezes are cool. Stetsons are cool. Yeah. And soon, you know, suit vests are going to be cool. Victorian. Pretty much anything he wears is cool. I like that. That's a good way to say it. And if you don't like it, well, too bad. So now we get into now that we've explained the 11s and who they are, there is a key thing we have to talk about, and that's the TARDIS. What he travels around in time and space, because you can't really be a Time Lord and not have a TARDIS. It doesn't work. So, it's a nice blue police box that means time and relative dimensions in space. Space, 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 space. And it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Which you could also say it's bigger on, or smaller on the outside than it is on the inside. That's another way of saying it, but usually it's bigger on the inside. Outside. Now, why is it a blue police box, and why does it happen to be that way? Well, there's this nice thing called a chameleon circuit. It's supposed to be that any time you travel through time and space, I appear now, and the TARDIS is supposed to be here, well, it could disguise itself as a chair. It's supposed to be subtle and just disappear into the background. Well, it broke, and I'm just a little bit too lazy to fix that. And I kind of like the blue police box, so it stays. That's really why it's there. It's just, he's lazy and doesn't want to fix it. But it can go anywhere in time and space, yep.
And actually, you get to see it keep the police box from the beginning of the series.
Exactly, from
you
the
watch
very
Unearthly
beginning.
Children, they get out, and the doctor and his granddaughter Susan both look at it, and it's like, it should have changed.
They do make that. It's the second episode that they say that. It's like, it should have changed. And it's like, oh, well, it's fine.
Yeah. Sixth Doctor fixes it in one episode, but the
He
TARDIS doesn't like it. And so every time they land somewhere, it picks the most inappropriate form. They land in a junkyard, and it chooses this painted china hutch. They land in a garage, and it chooses a pipe organ. They land on an alien planet, and it chooses Victorian wrought iron gates. And so then he just, at the end of it, he just removes it and lets it be the police box again.
Yeah, might as well. Let the TARDIS do what it wants. And then there's one other interesting thing, and this is why we can understand all the aliens that we see. It kind of gets into your head and changes your language receptors around, so that anything you hear is English and anything you speak, they hear as whatever their language is. So that's why everyone apparently speaks British languages.
Unless you try to actually speak their language.
Unless you, yes, if you try and speak Latin to someone who speaks Latin, they're going to go, sorry? I don't know. Is she from the north? I don't understand. Shut up. Exactly. So that's the TARDIS, and it's very important. And the second most important tool of the Time Lord is the sonic screwdriver. This is a fantastic little device that emits sonic frequencies used to unlock doors, fuse wires, fix barbed metals, fix circuitry, do anything and everything that it wants, scam biological life forms, but it does not work on wood. For whatever reason, it can't work on wood.
Deadlock seals.
So,
Or deadlock seals.
huh? Yes.
I'm guessing they saw the movie Signs, went back in time and told them, don't have it work on wood.
Yep, maybe. But that's the thing, can't work on wood, and there was a little moment in the new stuff where he goes, oh, aliens made of wood, this was always going to happen, you know? Because then you can't do anything. It's like, oh, damn.